¿La gente nos está oyendo ahorita o no?
Yes.
Sí.
Sí. Hi, everyone. We will begin shortly. We're just waiting until everyone is in the session. Okay, perfect. I think we can go ahead and get started on the introduction. Luis, you can take out the slide already. Perfect. Awesome. I think everyone should be here now. Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Ana Lucia and I am the GRLA co-president. Thank you for choosing to be here with us today. We want to welcome all of you to our last event of the spring semester and our first chapter of the Luxury in Emerging Markets event series. My mission as a president was to bring the Georgetown community closer to Latin American talent. That said, as a Latina fashion entrepreneur myself, I am beyond honored to welcome guest speaker Johanna Ortiz from Cali, Colombia, along with event moderator Ricardo Ernst from Caracas, Venezuela, who are two distinguished leaders in the LATAM region. Before we get into our moderated conversation, my co-president Alexander will provide some background information about our speaker.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexandra, and I'm the other co-president of GRLA. Before we pass on the mic to Johanna and Professor Ernst, we would like to offer some insight into our speaker's professional background. Born and raised in Cali, Colombia, by her interior designer mother, Johanna Ortiz was surrounded by inspiration. The journey of her brand began in 2001 when she returned to her hometown after having graduated from the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale in Florida. Not long after, her iconic designs became showstoppers at Colombia Moda in Medellin and Círculo de la Moda in Bogotá, two of the country's biggest fashion weeks. Ortiz's brand traversed international waters for the first time in 2015 after launching an exclusive collection for Moda Operandi and has since continued to expand worldwide. This past spring, Johanna became the first ever Latin American designer to partner with retail giant H&M to create a size-inclusive capsule collection available to women in over 73 countries. Our distinguished moderator for today is Dr. Ricardo Ernst, the Baratta Chair in Global Business and a Professor of Operations and Global Logistics at the MSB. We also want to thank Catalina Londoño for helping us secure this event. Catalina works with Johanna as the Global Sales and Marketing Director and is also a 2001 Georgetown alumni with a double major in Economics and Art. Our conversation today will run for approximately 45 minutes, followed by a 15-minute space for Q&A. So you guys may submit your questions in the chat throughout your conversations, and we ask you to mute your microphones. However, cameras are more than welcome. Before we dive into our conversation, we're going to play a short introductory video.
La.
Mute. Wow, Johanna, I have to tell you that actually it's a very fascinating presentation. I can see that, you know, the variety of things that you do. And I just have like an opening statement that I have always found intriguing about fashion. I think that fashion is based fundamentally on inspiration. And so we would like to know what inspires you?
And first of all, thanks for having me. I'm really, really happy to be with, we're trying to arrange this Zoom like probably a year ago. And I'm really glad to be here with all the students in Georgetown. It's quite an honor. So the question of inspiration, I can get inspired probably anywhere, any day, in any situation. It doesn't have to be like this perfect moment. I have the fortune to live in a wonderful city that it's called Cali, Colombia, and I have the most magnificent fauna, flora that surrounds me every morning when I wake up. So that's quite fortunate. As well, I have a lovely family of 3 boys and a husband and dogs and cats, and I think that when you have that harmony and you have any type of family, it doesn't need to be the perfect family, any family. And feeling love, then you have inspiration.
Do you feel that the inspiration is something that evolves over time, or you have basically like a common thing that you like that you see moving throughout your fashion? Is it something that is evolving? Like, you know, when you want to remember the way you were at the beginning, is it completely different at the way you are now, or you can see that is a line that has connected you through all these years?
No, I think that it needs to evolve. It needs to evolve. It's going to be always my DNA because it comes from me, but it has to grow. It has to achieve and conquer new things and discover new things that I probably when I was 24, 25, I didn't feel. Now I can feel them. And I mean, it's like creativity is like a living organism that keeps on growing and developing in different ways.
And we have seen that you have made a very important element of your fashion, the sustainability, the fact that, you know, you're very aware, very concerned about the environment and, you know, the impact you have. Do you feel that fashion, to put sustainability into fashion is a constraint, or is basically helping in the design, in the inspiration? How do you merge, you know, the two conditions of being good to the environment or being conscious about the environment and incorporating that? So what comes first? Does it come at the same time? Is that a constraint? I mean, how do you come up to incorporate the sustainability into all the things you do?
Well, first of all, when I decided for Johanna Ortiz to be like a company and as we were talking before, a company that produced its own collections and having an atelier with 360 people that work and do the collections in Colombia was part of it. Because for me, human talent and giving back to the community was one of the things that for me were like the social responsible thing to do. And then apart from that, like eco-friendly fabrics and being like conscious of every material and the consumption of everything that we do has been a priority. Now it's not a luxury. Now it's something that we all need to do. It's nothing like, it's not a PR point, nothing that it's like something to be proud of. It's just that you need to do it. So it's a have to when you are running a business and when you are like being an entrepreneur. So yeah, actually, I've enjoyed being like in the business. It needs to be profitable, but at the same time, it needs to be so conscious.
Now, do you think that fashion is something that is global or that's something that is local? I mean, I don't know if you, but when I go to the Johanna Ortiz, then, immediately I get it's Colombia, it's Cali, is, you bring about such a big element of the pride that you feel for being from Colombia. So you think that fashion is something more global, local? I mean, do you think that fashion has an identity?
I think it is totally global. We are in a global world, but my inspiration, I mean, where I live and where I grew, it has to be local. It's what speaks like from my country and for me. And so it makes total sense that let's say I get recognized as a Colombian designer. Because I am, but it's in a global world. I was like, we were talking before, and we were just having this conversation. Actually, my sales are more around the world than in Colombia. So it all started in Colombia, and I did all my career like at the beginning, like it was like kind of struggling because it's not like a one-day success story. It's been years of passion and hard work that makes a brand to be known and probably reached out as like I said for collaborations like H&M or different collaborations that we have done with different personalities. So it's totally global. For the answer, it's totally global. But I'm a local girl.
So, but it's important for you, the fact that people recognize that you are from Colombia and then you were there. It's not like, I fully agree with you that, the fact that you are submerged in the global world, and then it's funny, interesting that your sales outside are more than inside, but at the end of the day, that element of your DNA comes across. Is that important to you?
Totally. I love when it says, here comes Johanna with the Latin American flair, or the Colombian that brings so festive and elegant to the parties. And I mean, and when I get compliments from husbands, they're always like telling me, oh, are you Johanna Ortiz? Oh, my wife just wore that beautiful dress for a wedding or for a ball. And I get compliments from husbands, and that's the best, because now I know that I'm doing like something really good. I mean, I enjoy my work, and I enjoy that, that being around so many women, empowering them and giving them like although my knowledge, but as well as receiving the knowledge from them, it has been like so empowering for me.
And at the end of the day, I mean, if you studied in the US, as we heard, and then I'm curious, I mean, do you have somebody that has been like your mentor, your leader, the person that you admire, that has made an influence on you, or this is something that you develop? I mean, as your own, your own thing? Is that you get the influence of somebody, or at the end of the day, something that belongs to you?
Well, I have a wonderful mother, and my mother has a wonderful taste, and she was in love with fabric since she was like, since I was like really small, and she was like, so I got the feeling of textiles and you know, and going and see wallpapers since I was little with my parents, and everything was like kind of like the amusement. So for me, having like my mother around me, she was like pretty strict. So when I went to, like when I graduated from school and I wanted to go to college, so I wanted to go to New York, and that was my first option. I wanted to go to New York, and I wanted to study in a really good university in New York, probably all of you know. And my mom didn't let me go to New York. Actually, she said, "No, we have an apartment in Fort Lauderdale. You need to go back there." I'm like, so she's like super controlled. Like she's super controlled. I really enjoyed studying there. I mean, it's not nice about like being like right, you know, Las Olas Boulevard in the strip of everybody wearing bathing suits. That's probably all my first collections were all bathing suits.
And when you were growing up, you always wanted to be in fashion. I mean, I know you got the inspiration at home. Your mother was a big influence, but you always wanted to be in fashion?
Always. I mean, I think that I have a sister that works with me, and I was telling you she's now the coordinator of supply chain. Paola, it's a year older than me, and she's always like telling me that I was always playing as a fashion designer, always like drawing, always like love to draw, and I mean, and see magazines and read books about fashion, and I was passionate about it. I think that whatever you really enjoy, it doesn't feel like work. It's just like I really enjoy what I do.
How difficult was for you? Because now we can say you are at this side of the bridge. I mean, the people that's starting and they're struggling, they are in the process of just getting there. They see a lot of the inspiration in you, but you're already at the other end. I mean, you by any dimension we can look at, you are very successful. And then what do you think are the most important hurdles, the hurdles that people need to cross to pass to get to, you know, do where you are? You know, it's how difficult it is to get to that stage? I mean, when you were like beginning, what were your biggest challenges?
You need to fall down and just like step up and start all over again. It's, you know, it's a, I remember that I'm going to tell a story, and I'm going to try to make it short. It was a story when I had my store in Cali, and Bogota, but this was in Cali, and there I had my atelier. And that day I entered to my store, and I was like, okay, so I want to wear something for Friday night. And I mean, and I was like looking from the store, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want anything in this store. And then I just like said, what am I doing? I'm just satisfying what other people want and not what I like. And there I changed the whole chip. So I lost all my customers at that moment, and I had to begin from zero again, like to building up again something that I really loved. And that was like the transition for what started in 2014. There was Johanna Ortiz going in modo operandi and starting like to be like in Bird of Goodman and trying to be reached by global markets. So it takes the courage of recognizing like I don't like anything here, and having like struggled like a year and a half without sales, while I was like probably, you know, like teaching my customer of what Johanna Ortiz really was. And I think that now I feel they really know what Johanna Ortiz is, and that makes me feel like really proud. But it has to be like, I mean, it never started of me going to fashion shows and being all organized and being like that. It starts like ironing and just like trying to finish things that are not done when they have to be done. It's long nights trying to finish the collections, packing them and running and organizing them. Frustrations. Sometimes we prepared a show, and the show couldn't start because it started raining, and it was frustrating. We had like, I mean, it was like 4 months work, and it was like in Cali, an expo show, that it was like a fashion week in Cali, and I was closing the fashion week, and we were going to do it like in an iconic place that is called La Ermita, that's a church. And actually it started raining, and my dad came into the camerino and told me like, dear, I think that there's not going to be any runway. And all my team and I just like bursted into tears. We were all crying. We were like,
Wow.
I mean, it was like so hard because we were showing the first collection after we hadn't had like sales. So we were like, we're gonna show it. We're gonna show what we have to the world. And I couldn't present it. So next day, after probably drinking a bottle of tequila, because I couldn't even, I mean, I was like, actually, I mean, frustrated and sad and I mean, and broken, and standing up and saying, okay, it's only one thing that happened and I still love what I do and there's going to be more opportunities and I mean, and continue. But it has been a long ride. It's not that easy. It has to have like this lows and this failures to make you and make you strong.
Yeah, you need to have the drive. I mean, that was an important thing, to continue with the drive. Let me talk about something. Now we see that the world is changing. I'm not going to talk about COVID yet, but I want to talk about something that is related to the change in the world, and that is online sales. You know, in the traditional way of selling, you have a retail store, you know, you have a direct contact with the customer. You can see them, you can see their expressions, how they like it, how they don't like it. You talk to them, they tell you things. So it's a more direct connection. Now with the online that is growing so rapidly and more companies are getting into the online, how are you adjusting to the online?
Well, actually, we just launched like 3 months ago e-commerce of Johanna Ortiz. But we started internationally with an e-commerce at Moda Operandi. So for us, like being a brand that it's 60% of sales are online,
50%,
makes us 60%.
60,
It's online. Yeah. We started in Moda, and they have been like our mentors, like as our buyers. We like be growing together, and actually I think that you cannot leave like brick and mortar on site. I think that the experience and you know, feeling and just like having like somebody like tell you how you look, and that it's important for some people. And then there's also the people that like to buy online. I don't think that, and there's certain stuff that you want to have the experience and you want to try probably with friends, or you just buy your jeans online. You know, it's not either or. But since COVID, I think that we rapidly had lost like being afraid to order things online, even more in Latin America that we weren't used to.
And when it gets, I mean, I find the names that you use for your collections, I mean, they all have like a Latin root in the whole thing. I mean, your latest collection is Aureliana, you know, I mean, those are like a very Latin names. I mean, where do you get those names from? I mean, you talk to the team and say, okay, guys, we need to come with a new name. I mean, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Or you just wake up in the morning and say, okay, I got the inspiration. Aureliana is the new name. You know, how is that game working? Have you just get more tequila and get the inspiration, or aguardiente? I mean, what is it that you use for the inspiration? Or it's like the team says Aureliana and you say, yeah, that sounds good. Aureliana it is. How do you do it?
Well, actually, Aureliana from the last collection, it's amazing because since we were all like focused in magical realism, and we're like studying for prints, we studied like fungi and different types of all the mycelium and everything, and it was like magical realism. And I just like opened up I just like went back to Gabriel Garcia Marquez and Aureliano Buendia had always like been in my head. So I think like I'm always putting like names of women and that they feel empowered. So it's been like Aureliana or Madame Felix, or you know, it's always like women, and it makes sense when you see the collection and I see the inspiration where it came from. The names have to be like, I mean, as just like as you baptize like a daughter or a son.
So the name comes after the collection. You first have the collection, then after you see it, then the name comes. And then you are the way,
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah,
see them and say, okay, now Aureliana is going to be the name. That's interesting.
It sometimes can come at the beginning, because I'm always like imagining a woman, and this JO woman, where is she going to be at this moment? So it depends on the mood, and probably sometimes I have the name at the beginning. Sometimes somebody says something when we're doing a fitting and I'm like, oh, there it is. Or sometimes I just wake up with like, it's going to be Aureliana, it depends. I mean, everything's teamwork. It's
Right.
I have an incredible
I'm
team.
sure. Wow,
And
350
I
people.
feel so,
Yeah.
and I feel so honored to work with them, because I think that we all are like growing a dream together. So it has been amazing.
That's amazing. Now, have you ever thought about doing Aureliano? I mean, are you ever going to do it for men, or that's just no Aurelianos, just Aureliana for the time being?
I would love to do men's, but I mean, just having 3 boys and a husband, I think that
There you go.
I need to have something for men. I've tried. I mean, they have my bathing suits that I've done for them, so they have the trunks. But actually, no. I'm first doing like more lifestyle, and now keep on doing like, in my accessory line has to
And
be
home,
going
you're
a little
doing
more
also home,
steadier.
right?
We're launching home in I think it's like in a month. And I mean, it's all about lifestyle. So I'm not going to probably be like doing something for a man. I'm doing something for women to buy for their men.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Oh, I'm waiting. I mean, let me know. And then, you're going to call Aurelian or something. Just let us know in advance.
I'll let you know in advance.
Yeah, that'll be good. Now, tell us a bit about, your global expansion with the names like H&M. I mean, those guys, how do you get, because, it's a matter of identity. You see, you need to maintain your identity, even though you're doing with H&M, but within their world, you continue being Johanna Ortiz. Isn't that right? I mean, they respect your name, or they basically do your stuff with their label.
No, totally. No, we worked together. It was a great collaboration. We worked together. It was like a teamwork. We got meetings in New York and Paris. They came to Cali, and we worked with the fashion team together. And it was like super. I mean, we just blended in so well. They knew perfectly what Johanna Ortiz was, what women like to dress in Johanna Ortiz, and for what occasions. They had cleared the brand, so it was easy for me like to design and co-design with them. Interesting.
Now let's get a little bit into the new world we're entering with the pandemic and COVID. Is that changing many of the dimensions that you think of, including inspiration? I mean, is that the pandemic is affecting the way you just go through the process? I mean, how are you adjusting to the pandemic? It's a new world.
I think we've just everyone that I see has adapted. Like, it has been like obligatory to adapt like to the what's happening in the world. But as a fashion designer, and what we did is, like, instead of like we source our fabrics mostly in Europe, and at that time we were not being able to bring fabrics or anything. So I mean, it had to be like in innovation and in creativity, and that we have fortunately in our atelier. So we were using same fabrics that were in stock that we're not using. So our shopping place became where we had all our dead stock. So it was like a really creative. We had to like do like a revive to all the fabrics. And we did a lot of embroidery, and I mean, it was nice. So let's say creativity wise, it has been like a little bit more like challenging, but I think that those challenging moments also are like really important for a creative.
Interesting. Now, I see that in your approach to fashion, you use a lot of these what you call artisans. I mean, how do you go about these artisans? I mean, how do you decide? You just go on a tour throughout Colombia and you say you, and then how is the process? Because it's very interesting and challenging. I agree with you. It's very creative and it's very beautiful, but you incorporate that into your own design. So we would like to know, what is the process by which you go to incorporate these artisans that you have made such a big deal out of your fashion? How do you go about it?
Okay, so every collection has to have a collaboration with artisans, with Colombian or even Latin American artisans. For us, it's super important to have like all the heritage of our land, and to give the feedback to them of I mean, so they can, I mean, they're so creative that they have like tons of materials that they can use from natural fibers, palma de iraca, like all these fabrics are magnificent that they know, and they have the ancestral knowledge. I'm just like interfering with a collaboration and just telling them like, can we do it a little bit big? Can we just like, if there's a different, like, you know, evolving a little bit and just like making it like a collaboration. So it has their knowledge, and it also has like the imprint of my design. So it's, I mean, it's like, it's been wonderful working with artisans and learning hand to hand.
Is sometimes the production volume's an issue? Like, you know, sometimes you have like one particular thing that kicks, like you're selling more, and they say, oh, my artisans, hey, we didn't expect this to happen. Can you start like pumping more, or that doesn't happen?
Yeah, for our two past collections, like we have been like quite like a little bit in trouble with like reorders probably trying to, I mean, it's a 2 months like a time frame that we have to make it work, but sometimes it rains so much in Colombia, and they have to, like, if it's a fibra or de iraca or fique, it has to be like, you know, with the sun, and I mean, so that type of stuff, or probably the finishings are not the ones that they did at the beginning, or, you know, it's tricky, but it's so worth it.
No, that's great. I mean, it's commendable. Now, you know, one of the things we were talking offline was the fact that you're vertically integrated. And, you know, I am a professor of supply chains and operations. And one of the things that we teach most of the times is that vertical integration is not that good, that at the end of the day, you need to outsource and then get a collection of who's the best in each one of those elements of the supply chain. But you said yes, but in our case, we are proud of our vertically integrated operation. So can you tell us more about your vertically integrated operation?
So I think that while I was dreaming of doing Johanna Ortiz as a fashion known brand in the world, I was thinking of how I was going to also give back to my community. And it can not only be made just like, you know, so we started with the atelier, and the atelier started with one person in a sewing machine. And now we do everything in Zona Franca, and we have probably 300 sewing machines in Zona Franca and in the free trade zone. And I mean, I feel proud. And at this moment, when I was telling you, during COVID, when all the manufacturers were closing, when everything was closing, we were able to continue like to do production, and it feels like so natural for me to probably know the people that are like sewing and doing the clothes. I really know their stories. I can just walk around them and talk to them and see how they're doing, and I mean, it makes much more sense because they're really involved in the whole process. So the dress, it's made like from the beginning to end. We all are in charge of doing like everything. So I mean, it's a way that I want to do it, and I think it has worked.
No, this is fascinating. Now I'm running out of time of my own interchange, and I need to open it soon for the Q&A. But let me ask you a question. The last question I'm going to ask, and what is the biggest piece of advice that you would offer to aspiring designers? I mean, based on your experience, based on all the things you're sharing with us, what would be, and you know, piece of advice?
For me, it's passion. It's knowing what you really like and what you really want to be. And it's not professionally, but as a person. When you really know what you want to be as a human being, you just like excel in whatever you have a purpose or whatever you have an interest in. for me was fashion, and that has been like my it moves me, and mixing fashion and philanthropy with the escuela, and all this mixing, and now sustainability. So having all these factors are the things that probably move me as an entrepreneur. And I think that my advice is, whenever you fall, just stand up prouder and with much more like a strength, because that's just like stones in the road that would just make you bigger and greater.
Thank you. Now, many of the people in the audience are students at Georgetown, and they still have the opportunity of taking some courses. So are there any particular courses you should suggest them to take or not to take, just to be in the route where you are? Like any particular idea, say, hey guys, you should take this class and that class, or there are no particular class comes to mind?
Now, actually, I mean, everything that has to do with how to run a business, it's so important. I mean, I have to learn during the ride. So it has been for me like designing and knowing how to be like the CEO of my company. So it has been, like reading like financial, like when they come and they say, okay, we have like the board of directors, like the first board of directors meeting, I had to like learn like how to read the papers and everything. And I was like so nervous. So I think that everything that has to do with business and health administration, and I mean, it works for any type of entrepreneurship you want to do.
Well, being at the business school, I'm very happy you're saying that. So, okay, I'm gonna let you guys to take questions from the audience. So I'm pass it to the GRLA. So you manage the questions. Thank you, Johanna.
Yes, perfect.
No, gracias
Thank
a
you
ti.
so much. Gracias, Professor Ernst and Johanna, for the very insightful session. I think everyone would echo me saying that LATAM is a region full of culture, full of talent, and I think it's going to be the next big thing in fashion. So to wrap up, we will move to our Q&A moment. I will now call on those who have submitted your questions to the chat, so you can voice out your questions to the audience. So what if we go ahead with Alex Frieder? You can go ahead and ask your question.
Sure. Thank you so much for being here. This was so insightful. My question is, how did your relationship with Moda Operandi and Lauren Santo Domingo accelerate your career? And how important do you think it is for designers to establish relationships with retailers in a time when brands are increasingly focusing on their direct-to-consumer businesses?
That's a great question. So I think that right now, like I think that when I started at Moda had like a really curated like designer selection, and it was done all by Lauren. So for me, when Lauren, like it was through Instagram actually that she like saw something that she liked, and she's like tagging one of the buyers, and then I saw that in my Instagram, and then I just like moved on and just like wrote an email, and it's like, hi Lauren, this is Johanna from Colombia. I wanted to show you my last collection. Here's my lookbook. I want to hear your opinion. And then she said, when are you in New York? And I was like, I didn't think about it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be there in 2 months. I was like, and then when I just hung up, I was like, oh my God, I should have told her that I was gonna be next week. But actually, she's been like a mentor. So if you say yes, it probably helped me. But when you're in Moda and you're giving a shot, like they're giving you a shot to show to the world something, you have to show it. Because I mean, there's nothing, I mean, we sold like, they were called Tulum tops, like 500 in the trunk show. And then our next collection became the bestseller for them for resorts. So we had the record, and we were like in the same space with Dolce & Gabbana and other like huge brands. And it was amazing because we're top seller in Moda Operandi for like several seasons. So, I mean, yes, there was like a huge opportunity, but yes, you need to be there and stay there, like for them to keep on like like buying and trusting you.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Super. I think we can go ahead with Yara's question.
Hi, thank you so much for being with us today. My question for you is, how is working in fashion today different than when you first started out your brand?
I think I think it's fashion. But it's totally different. I think that when I was growing up, when it was like probably late 90s, fashion had like this image that everybody's like super nasty. Like you're gonna go and you're gonna head to like really like harsh people. They're not gonna, they're not gonna give you the opportunity. I have found in fashion nowadays, it's like super friendly. Like I went to my first interview with Vogue and met Anna Wintour, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, imagining herself, but she was like so helpful and giving the advice, always giving advice. It has changed. I think that today we have also more opportunities. Like before, to be in Vogue, probably you had to pay like a lot of advertisement as a brand. Now with social media and all of this, it's free to advertise at this moment. So you have to be really careful at how you advertise it and how you show everything, because it's out there for the world. So you have to be very conscious about what you're showing about you.
Thank you.
Perfect. I think we can go ahead with Tala's question.
Hi, as Yara said, thank you so much for being here. Your talk has been literally one of the most interesting ones yet. So my question to you is regarding like the effects of the pandemic on fashion, and what fashion trends like do you see coming out of this pandemic? Do you think like the focus will shift more to sustainable things and so more like environment friendly things, or the other way around? What do you think?
It has to be sustainable and it has to be environment friendly. It not only in fashion, but in every company, in any sector it is. But I see a change, like we have been like, if you're telling me like about trends that I can like feel, I think that we've been like enough, like probably like in our houses and not being able to travel, not being able to see a lot of friends, or not being able to do like proper weddings or like that. And I think that probably next year we're gonna have like, I call it like my mini golden age. And I think, that's that period that probably like people are going to be much more festive and they're going to be conscious about environment, but as well they're going to be conscious of living day by day and enjoying life.
That's super, Johanna. So I think to wrap up, I have one personal question that I want to ask before we go to closing remarks. So I'm an emerging fashion entrepreneur, and as such, I'm constantly on the lookout for experiences that can help me develop in the field. So I was wondering if you could recount on what are the best resources that are available to Latin American fashion entrepreneurs in Latin America. I know that you have participated in Latin American Fashion Summit initiatives like the Tribu platform. So I was wondering if you could recount on this experience with that.
Well, I mean, that's, let's say that's one of those beautiful helps that you can receive as a student and somebody searching like to be around fashion. Like Tribu, it's like a networking platform where they connect not only Latino Americans, but Latino Americans to the world. And I think that having access like to conversations or probably just like direct contact with other designers for internships or for mentoring, or I mean, they've done a beautiful work in creating that network and creating that space where you can start younger and feel free to be connected.
Super, perfect. I see that there is one more question in the chat, so maybe that can be the last one, or anyone can just jump in and ask questions. So Susie, you can go ahead and voice out yours.
So thank you again so much for being here today. I'm actually a big fan of retail Farfetch, and I always see your beautiful pieces there. And I was wondering, to what extent do you think that an additional distribution channel such as Farfetch influence your sales and exposure to a broader worldwide audience?
Well, I mean, it's been amazing because we have so magnificent partners in I mean, in the whole spectrum, in the whole I mean, we have like we're talking about Kata. You can just how many retailers we have, and we're open in 60 doors, and let's say like Farfetch or Matches, and they carry different stuff. So there's never like the same things in each of them. They have their own buyers and they do their own selections. It also happens in brick and mortar. They have their own selections. So there's like pieces of Johanna Ortiz in Matches that probably Farfetch doesn't have, or Moda Operandi doesn't have, or Net-a-Porter doesn't have. They all do all this. And I mean, they have a little piece of Johanna Ortiz catered to their own customer.
We are in 66 stores today.
Yeah.
66 stores and almost 17 countries now. So as Johanna said at the beginning, and Professor Ernst, we actually 95% of our sales are to the international market, and only 5 to Colombia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
95% are
Amazing. That's amazing. I think Alex had a question in that same line, so maybe you can go ahead.
Sure, yeah. I was just wanting to know a bit more about your trajectory and kind of going from this artisanal brand in Colombia to, being in some of the world's most renowned retailers, and then collaborating also with H&M. And if you could talk a bit about that process and what it's like, what it was like collaborating with one of the biggest retailers in the world.
That's amazing. And like something that I think that authenticity has always to be over here. Like if you are not being authentic and really like connecting with what you want to show to the world, then the world won't have the vibe. With H&M, it was like amazing. It was a learning experience, a total learning experience. They've been like for years a family-owned business, and they were already pursuing like all this sustainability. They were like conscious even in how they serve the water in the photo shoots. I mean, like small things that make like the whole difference, and how professional they are, how they work. I mean, it was like kind of like an MBA for me working with H&M. I think that I learned so much from them. I mean, in all the business wise and how professional they were. I really enjoyed it. They reached out. I don't know. I think that they knew more about me than me. It was like they really knew about Johanna Ortiz, and I was like really happy about it because they knew about all the collections. They talked about the collections like if they have been present like for my 10 years, 15 years of career. So it was like an incredible experience, and I really recommend if you want to pursue something that you're showing to the world, I think that social media, it's one of the platforms that needs to be explored and needs to be used in a so responsible way. Because now there's no stores and I don't have a store in internationally. I don't own any flagship. So my flagship, it's my social media and my online webpage. So that's what talks about it.
Okay, perfect. Then if there are no more questions in the chat, I just wanted to thank you, Johanna and Professor Ernst, for your time. I think we've all learned so much from this, and Julia will just go ahead and give some closing remarks.
As Anna said, unfortunately, our time is up, but thank you, John and Professor Ernst, for this insightful conversation. It was a pleasure to have you here with us today. We would also appreciate it if all the attendees could fill in the feedback form that is being submitted in the chat. Thank you all for coming, and have a great rest of the day.
Ay, muchas gracias. Thanks so much for
Johanna, ya nos
having
veremos.
me.
Thank you.
Professor
Oye, me avisa
Ernest,
cuando
a
tengas
pleasure.
la Aureliano. Me avisa.
Te aviso, te mando algo. Thank you so much.
Gracias.
I had an amazing time. Thank you.
Yeah, we did too. We learned a lot and we are very proud of you. Very proud of you. You are the true best representation we can have in the region. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Very proud of you. Johanna.
Abrazos y besos. Take care.
Gracias.
Thank you.